My name is Drew Newman, and in 1895, my great-grandfather, Julius Caesar Newman, founded our family business. 4 generations and 125 years later, we are proud to be the oldest family-owned premium cigar company in America. On behalf of my father, Eric, and Uncle Bobby, I would like to welcome each of you to the ribbon cutting of the restoration of our El Reloj cigar factory. We have a very short program this morning. I would like to say a few words about Tampa's historic premium cigar industry before introducing 2 of our tremendous champions, Congresswoman Kathy Castor and Mayor Jane Castor. And then I will introduce and thank our project team before we officially cut the ribbon and open El Reloj to the public. When Don Vicente Martinez Ybor came to Tampa in 1885, Tampa was little more than a small village and a fort at the mouth of the Hillsborough River. Ybor realized that Tampa's climate, port, and brand new railroad made it the ideal spot to roll cigars, and the Chamber of Commerce helped him buy land here. Soon, many other cigar makers followed, and Tampa became world famous as the fine cigar capital of the world and cigar city. A century ago, Tampa had 150 large cigar factories just like this one that rolled more than 500 million premium cigars by hand each year. The cigar industry transformed Tampa into the largest city at the state and the time and made Tampa world famous. It's hard to overstate the impact that the cigar industry has had on Tampa. Nearly everyone whose family has been here for more than a few generations has had relatives who made cigars, made cigar boxes, made cigar labels, or supported Tampa's cigar industry in some way. However, beginning in the 1970s, Tampa's cigar industry began to struggle. It began to face fierce competition from low-wage countries and imported cigars. One by one, Tampa's other cigar factories began to close, and cigar rolling moved overseas to Central America and the Caribbean. A few years ago, my father, uncle, and I were walking around and realized that we were the last cigar factory still operating, still making cigars here in Cigar City. And we feel that we have a social and a moral obligation to keep Tampa's cigar making tradition alive. To help us achieve this goal, today we are opening a new 3-level cigar history museum, an interactive theater, an event space, a new hand-rolling cigar factory, and more. Here at El Reloj, we roll cigars today just like my great-grandfather did 100 years ago, and we are very excited to use our El Reloj factory as a living history museum to tell the story of Ybor City and Tampa's cigar heritage for generations to come. Now it's my privilege to invite Tampa's greatest champion in Washington to speak. This year marks the 10th anniversary that she first introduced legislation that helped protect and save Tampa's historic premium cigar industry. We made a lot of progress last year, and hopefully, Congressman, your bill can get enacted this year. And on a personal level, every time I see the news in Washington and feel discouraged, I feel so grateful that we have you representing all of us in Tampa and being our champion. And so please join me in welcoming Tampa's own Congresswoman Kathy Castor.
Well, good morning. Buenos dias. Thank you very much, Drew, to Eric and Lyris Newman and Bobby and Meredith and Drew and Dawson and Paxton and all of the J.C. Newman family. It is such an honor to be here today for this restoration, the museum. It's really a magnificent celebration of Tampa and all that we are. Tampa's unique remarkable history is on display here. And what you have to think, what defines Tampa before the Super Bowl and the Bucks and the Stanley Cup and Busch Gardens? Over 100 years ago, it was the cigar industry that put Tampa on the map, because we were the center of the universe, the center for the highest quality hand-rolled cigars. And it really was the cigar industry that turned this swampy outpost into what it is today. But what truly made Tampa and Ybor City and West Tampa so extraordinary were the people, the families, the skilled immigrants who came from Cuba and Spain and Italy and even Ohio, where Eric and Bobby's grandfather came from. They were all in search of the American dream, and they found it here in Tampa. It's a very unique story. I love sharing it with my colleagues all across the country because there's simply nothing like it. What we had a lot of common shared experience of hard-working people in the cigar industry that turned into a very uncommon, industrious, diverse history and made this community what it is today, this community that we love. The Newman family has been extraordinarily generous, not just to their employees and to Ybor City, and it's epitomized here in this new museum, but really to the entire Tampa Bay area through nonprofit organizations that have helped lift up our neighbors generation after generation. Your parents, Stanford and Elaine Newman, were renowned for their generosity, and they're in my thoughts today. But El Reloj, this four-sided clock tower, is beautiful. The factory workers back then, they could keep track of their workday. Children knew when to go to school. It's beautiful, it's inspiring, and on behalf of all of our neighbors, so many of whom can trace back their heritage to their parents and grandparents who rolled cigars. Even my father put together cigar boxes back in the day. We all can identify with this extraordinary history. Thank you, Drew, Bobby, Eric, for what you have done to help lift up this extraordinary Tampa story. We're so proud. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Castor. Mayor Jane Castor has been serving Tampa for 40 years, and during her tenure as mayor, she has championed economic growth and development and improving the quality of life across our city. Like our wonderful new Ybor City neighbors, Hotel Haya, our hope is that the restoration of El Reloj here in Ybor City can spur further economic growth and development in our neighborhood. So please join me in welcoming Mayor Castor.
Thank you, Drew. And thank you so much to Eric and Bobby and the next generation, Drew Newman, for all that you have done in our community. As Congresswoman Castor said, this is Tampa's history. We are known as Cigar City. We're here in Ybor City where Vincent started the cigar industry, and then it spread through the Newman family, through generations, and then it spread geographically over in West Tampa. And we have so many incredible historical buildings that were not just factories where an item, our famous cigars, were manufactured. They were a community. You had someone that was the lector, the reader, that would read the news of the world to everyone that was working. You had the sense of community from medical providers to schools to cultural events to theaters. all of those things that make a community, all the way down to the clock tower. You know, no one back then had an Apple Watch, so that's how you knew what time it was. The entire city could look up and see this clock tower. And so now the Newman family has not only restored this incredible building, but they have provided a historical tour, a walk through time as it relates to the cigar industry. And Eric was kind enough to take myself and several City of Tampa staff members on a tour a couple of weeks ago. And I would encourage anyone who hasn't been on that tour to please do so. We still have individuals in the factory back here that are hand rolling up to 100 cigars a day that are sent out. So this is an incredible restoration. I couldn't be more excited to be here today. I could not be more proud of the Newman family, and I couldn't be more proud of our community. You know, in this last year, there's been a lot of division. Clearly, we have had COVID-19, a pandemic to deal with. There's been a lot of strain, a lot of stress, a lot of frustration, and some anger, but not here in Tampa. And that's because we are a community that is united. We have incredible representation with Kathy Castor up in DC, ensuring that Tampa is on the map. We have my good friend, County Commissioner Gwen Myers, ensuring the city and the county are working together. And then we have families like the Newmans that are ensuring that our history is preserved and it's told to the next generation so that they don't forget where they came from. And lastly, and most importantly, I talked to the mayor of Kansas City yesterday, Quentin Lucas, and I told him he clearly already knew about our world famous cigars. So I promised him I would send him the world famous cigars in addition to enough craft beer that they could drown all their sorrows when they lose the Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And we have some wonderful Tampa hand-rolled cigars to fulfill your bet, and then they can light them up after the Bucks win in a couple weeks. And also want to thank Commissioner Myers for joining us this morning. We're very proud to be here in District 3 and trying to do our part to support the revitalization and the economic development here in your district as well. When the factory behind me, El Reloj, was built in 1910, the Tampa Tribune called it, quote, the largest and finest cigar factory in the world. El Reloj is a massive building that was designed for 1,000 cigar rollers. The Tribune proclaimed, quote, in this building are embodied every convenience, and in fact every luxury known to modern commercial construction, and the establishment as it now stands finished and occupied represents the very highest type of factory building. After a century of rolling cigars, El Reloj had lost its luster. It was old. It was tired. It was showing its age. It needed love and attention. My father, uncle, and I know how to roll great cigars here in Tampa, but as much as we love this building, we know little about historic preservation and construction. Thankfully, we found an incredible team who grew to love this building just as much as we do, and I would like to introduce and recognize them briefly. First and foremost, John Hadley of Rowe Architects and Alex Kalita of Common Bond led our design team. For the past 2 years, they have lived and breathed and dreamt about this project, and their tireless efforts and dedication have has resulted in a dramatic transformation of El Reloj and making sure that our building and Tampa cigar heritage can last for another century. So thank you so much, John and Alex. I also want to thank Rebecca Smith, John Califf, Tony Howard, Dave Schmidt, and the rest of the A.D. Morgan team who are our construction managers. But really calling them managers doesn't really fit because they came to love this building as much as we do and spent 2 years treating it as if it was their own and helping us restore it to its glory. Our great thanks also goes to Roger Beringer of Creative Arts, who built our new museum. And then last but certainly not least, I couldn't not thank our internal project team leads of Amy Cooks, Pablo Martin, Kara Guagliardo, and Malia Baker, along with every single J.C. Newman cigar employee who kept rolling cigars and lived through tremendous construction and all of its many inconveniences. Finally, my family and I would like to thank the Hillsborough County Historic Preservation Challenge Grant Program and the City of Tampa CRA Facade Grant Program for their generous support of our project. And we're also extremely thankful for the tremendous technical support provided by Ron Villa and the City of Tampa's Historic Preservation Office, which does a tremendous job at maintaining the wonderful historic assets here in our city. My family and I view El Reloj as our home. My great-grandfather bought this building not because he had a plan for it, but because he fell in love with it. As a kid, I grew up running around the 3 floors and basement here. And my family and I thought that there was no better way to celebrate our family company's 125th anniversary than by restoring El Reloj and opening up to the public. This building, its transformation, is our family's gift to the City of Tampa, and we're so excited to share it with all of you. Therefore, without further ado, my father, uncle, and I would like to invite John, Rebecca, Alex, and Amy to join us as Congresswoman Castor, Mayor Castor, and Commissioner Myers cut the ribbon and officially open El Reloj to the public.